worship leader, and I'm going to be speaking at a conference in which I am speaking to a group of my peers. So you guys are all worship leaders as well, so that is who I'm going to be talking to today. Imagine yourself for a second. You're in a dark auditorium. There's dim lights above you, but besides that, there's no other light or sound. You're not alone in this auditorium, but it's completely silent. Then you hear a slight drone coming from in front of you. You can tell it's a stage at this point. It sounds both choral and mixed with synthesizers, and this drone just continues to build for about 10 seconds. And then there's an eruption of both light and sound that comes from the stage, and this is the band starting their first song. So what I've done for you today is I've created a mental image of what you guys can do while you're on stage leading worship. And that's what I want to kind of clarify with 3 different innovations I'm going to be talking about today within the field of worship over about the past 5 years. So I also want to thank you guys so very much for inviting me to the 11th Annual Midwest Worship Leaders Conference. This is something that I've always learned a ton from. It's been something that's inspired me to love what I do and just learn more about it. And so I'm completely honored that you guys would have me here today to speak to you all. So a little bit about myself. My name is Jack Barnhart. I've been a worship leader for about 6 years now. I first started back in college, when I got involved in the campus ministry crew. I led about 3 or 4 bands in that campus ministry, and then I moved on to the church that I'm at now, actually. It's called Fellowship Bible Church, and that's in Rogersville, Missouri. And I've been leading over there for about the past 4 years, and I've been the head worship pastor there for about 2. So this is absolutely my passion, and I'm just so thankful that you guys have come here and been able to hear me talk about what I'm really passionate about. So like I was saying earlier, I have 3 different innovations that will really help you guys bring your worship to that next level, to what you want to see for your congregation. And I'm going to be talking about both the visual and the auditory side of worship. So I'm going to talk about stage design, in-ear monitoring systems, and a shared metronome that we like to call click. These are going to both enhance the audio and visual side of your worship, so it will just make it that much better for whoever you are trying to do that for. So first off, I'm going to be starting with the visual side, that is stage design. Now when I talk about stage design, that's kind of the layout or the backdrop of whatever is going on behind the band. The 2 main goals of this stage design, as shown by churchrelevance.org, an article they had in 2014, there's 2 main things that you really want to cover with that, is that you want to have it as a sermon illustration, and you also want to have it as a worship atmosphere. So with the sermon illustration, the biggest thing there is you don't want to distract. You want it to add to whatever the speaker is saying, but you don't want it to distract from what he's trying to get across. That is the biggest thing that you want to cover with that stage design. Now, when we go into the atmosphere of worship, when it comes to stage design, it's also something that you don't want to distract from what you're trying to convey. You don't want people to be looking at the stage the entire time when they're trying to get into an atmosphere of worship. So you want it to be understated enough to where they're not looking at it the entire time, but you want it to be visually pleasing enough that it can get it into that atmosphere that you're looking for. So now that I've talked a little bit about the visual side, I'm going to go into the auditory side of worship and talk about in-ear monitoring systems. So in-ears are a system of monitors that you wear through headphones that is your own personal, basically, mix of what you hear while you are playing. And this is incredibly useful for a multitude of different reasons. It was covered on worshipteamdirector.com in an article in 2016 that there's 3 big things that it really helps with while on stage. It reduces stage noise, which you really only want to hear the stuff coming out of the speakers, not anything that's actually going on stage. So if you don't have stage monitors going on, there won't be any conflicts between what's coming out of the speakers and what's going toward the musicians. So it'll be a much cleaner sound. It'll be much easier to kind of decipher for the sound tech what will be the best thing to do when on stage. This also can control better what the musician wants to hear, because if they want to hear more vocals, it's only in their ears. So they can bring up the vocals, or they can bring up whatever instrument that they're playing, so that it creates a more personalized mix for themselves. The last thing is communication. The sound tech has the ability to communicate with the band the entire time without having to go over a loudspeaker or try and yell at them or make hand signals while they're trying to go through a worship set. They can speak right into these in-ear monitoring systems, which is incredibly useful, especially for live performances. So the last thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about is probably one of the most well-utilized things within in-ear monitoring systems, and that's a shared metronome, also known as a click. So this shared metronome is put into the in-ear monitoring system through a separate channel, and it helps the entire band just stay together as a group. So there's two to three big things that help when it comes to implementing a click within your worship set, and this is covered within worshipteamcoach.com and was on our article for 2016. The first thing is that it keeps the band tight. When you have a metronome, no one's wondering what part of the song you're at, what speed it's supposed to be. You all can stay together much better, especially in worship settings when you don't have a consistent band every single week. You might have different people playing different things. It helps a lot if you have that shared metronome throughout the entire set. The next thing would be it can tell what part of the song you're at. You can add vocal cues into this click that says, oh, you're coming to the chorus. Oh, you're coming to the bridge. This will be the last time you go through that chorus. It helps infinitely in just allowing the whole band to know what part of the song you're at. This can also be discarded at any point within the song or the set. If the band gets off, if the singer goes astray, the drummer, who is usually controlling this, can stop it at any point, and you can go on playing just freeform or however you see fit. So today, I've talked to you about 3 different innovations within the field of worship over the past 5 years that I've seen personally take my band to a completely different level that I never thought I would be able to get there with them, and it has been an incredible transformation. These 3 things were stage design, and how, though it shouldn't distract, it should be visually stimulating. In-ear monitors that can help really bring the band together and help them do the best they can for hearing themselves and the other instruments. And the click, which really just keeps things tight throughout the entire worship set. Now, the thing we really need to remember about all this is that this isn't about the band, this isn't about the front man, this isn't about anyone on stage. This is about creating the best atmosphere for people to just come and worship in whichever way that they want to. Thank you guys very much. Do you guys have any questions? Awesome, thank you.